It was in the 1950s when rock and roll took the country by storm, and a young man named Elvis Presley shocked the nation. In the 1960s, it was the Woodstock Nation. Now, in the late 1970s, a new and powerful music-based energy is making a massive cultural breakthrough. The punk cult. This is a 60-minute look at some of the most important music, people, and events that have helped define the phenomenon that is punk rock today, including comments and views from some of the most prominent journalists and critics on the music scene today. Plus, you will see live performance coverage of blonde bombshell Debbie Harry and the hit band Blondie. 18 months before these tapes were shot, this group played a punk club on the Bowery for as little as $25 per night. Admissions alone to their standing room only appearance for 4 nights, less than 1.5 years later, the same time as these tape sequences were shot, grossed them over $8,000. That same week, still a virtually unknown group, their recording rights were purchased for over $1.5 million cash. Their manager says they've just begun. These are the controversial Dead Boys. You'll see them do Sonic Reducer, All This and More, and Ain't Nothing to Do. You'll see them on and off the stage. Meet the record producer who helped them get it all down. Originally from Cleveland, Ohio, they became fast favorites of many on the scene. They've had a strong influence on bands from New York to Canada. Their album is called Young, Loud, and Snotty, and their stage act is one of the most provocative and powerful of any punk band anywhere in the world today. The Dead Boys are not pretty. They don't try to be pretty. They've been called brilliant. They've been called disgusting. But nobody ever forgets this act once they've seen it. And featuring the amazing Johnny, Joey, Dee Dee, and Tommy Ramone, the Ramones, formed in the summer of '74 and already on their 3rd album, Rocket to Russia. This is the band that many have called the premier punk rock band in the world today. Their hit single, Sheena, was the first punk single to make the charts, and since that time, virtually all of their releases have been chart-bound. You'll hear Ramones talk and meet their influential manager, Danny Fields. All this and more coming up in the next 60 minutes. Elvis may have been the first punk, or James Dean. There were certainly punks before the word became fashionable, and there will certainly be punks after the word dies away. Differences between the musical groups coming out of this phenomenon called punk rock are probably as strong as their similarities. But there is no doubt about it. The world is witnessing an explosion of creative energy that started on New York's Skid Row.
Well, in New York, it started with the Ramones, I believe, back in... First time I saw them was in the summer of 1975, just after I got out of journalism school, and they blew me away. It was like nothing I'd heard in live in many years. The problem with everything you heard on the radio was either disco or this stuff that comes out of L.A. the kind of Linda Ronstadt, Eagles. Soft rock axis that after a while just got to be boring, and Ramones went out there and just and played all these just strictly power chords, and their lyrics were wonderfully funny, and I stayed around for 2 sets until about 3 in the morning with this girl who didn't want to stick around for any of it at all, but she was afraid to go home alone, so I stayed for the whole thing.
The four-man band from Forest Hills, New York, called the Ramones, was formed in the summer of 1974, long before there were any English punk bands like the Sex Pistols or a punk scene in Los Angeles, Boston, or Canada. It is generally acknowledged that it was the Ramones tour of 1975 that played a big role in establishing punk footholds or scenes both in England and in this country where they played. In New York, the punk scene got off the ground at a then unknown club on the Lower East Side called CBGB's. Located in the heart of Skid Row at 315 Bowery, the raw and unrestricted environment was perfect for the new bands to try new things. CBGB's was not founded as a rock and roll club, but its owner, Hilly Crystal, had the foresight to recognize a good thing when he saw it and encouraged the bands to make it their scene. In the early days, there were not many bands. There were also very few people in the audience.
So we found CBGB's like it was just a bum bar on the Bowery, and nobody was playing, but like we saw that it could become a scene. Like we wanted to develop it, make it something, you know. So we started playing for Hilly and the Dog, and eventually got up to like 700 people a night. And
the audience at that time, there wasn't much of an audience. It was in the Bowery, and nobody wanted to go down to the Bowery. Some derelicts and some brave people sometimes came down, and they liked us. We were different. And then the artists and weirdos started coming down, and they liked us.
Another group that formed almost at the same time as the Ramones was Blondie. CBGB's, however, was not the professional debut for lead singer Debbie Harry.
My real debut as a performer was in a play in, I was in about, I think I was in about 5th grade or 4th grade or something like that. And it was a play called Cinderella's Wedding, and I was the soloist. And I sang I Love You Truly at Cinderella's wedding.
I saw you standing on the corner. You look so big and fine. I really wanted to go out with you. So when you smiled, I laid my heart on the line.
You rendered the night, and then you said, let's go and nothing more. Thought of my nights and how they were filled with. I know you wouldn't go. You watched my heart go dead. You stepped in. I had to know, so I asked. You just had to laugh. It's out in the night with my hands cupped at my side. I looked at your light and your smile. Wanted nothing more. I know you wouldn't go. You watched my heart bust there. You stepped in. I had to know, so I asked. You just had to laugh. Walking the line, you are a marksman. Told me that law like wine is age that comes up bend the door. You had to admit you wanted the love of a sex offender. You would go, you watched my heart go there. You stepped in, I had to know, so I asked. You just had to laugh. My vision in blue, I call you from inside I myself. And if I try, you won't deal with your bad and I love you. But the time I want to, but I can't love you. Well, I did
developed at CBGB's in Max's Kansas City, one of the other New York clubs that provided a place for the bands to play, as a reaction to a rock and roll industry which, in the words of one punk proponent, had gone soft. The need to make a statement that was strong, hard, and raw was a basic factor that drew the early bands and their audiences together. Coming out of an apparently apathetic political as well as musical context, punk rock is assertive and aggressive. Punk rock is energy.
One thing that's happened, quite apart from the sociological aspects of it, just from a musical standpoint, is that ever since the mellow, rocking, soft 70s settled around us like gummy cotton, there have been continual sort of pockets and attempts to keep energetic, simple, violent rock music going. It's an art movement, consciously an art movement.
It's rock and roll, stripped down.
It's just real and raw, and there's no crap involved.
As opposed to the standard schlock we hear on the top 40, radio stations, things like that.
The punk movement represents a kind of violent redressing of the energy balance in a pop music scene that has blanded out a little too far.
I think people were forgetting about what it was all about, and people were, and musicians, composers, groups, whatever, they were taking it into like a different direction. They weren't understanding the meaning of rock and roll.
Danny Fields, the Ramones manager, describes hearing their music for the first time.
It was so ferocious, and it was so hard, and it was so solid and powerful and constructed. It was, you could see it was like architectural music. It was like some Egyptian something or other monolith. It was just no loose edges anywhere, no slipperiness, no wandering off. It was just like a great machine that went on time. And that's what I like. I mean, I like that. I like something so powerful that you can't imagine it unless you're hearing it. In other words, you try to remember what they sound like when they're not there, and every time you hear them, it sounds all over again like a revelation to me.
There's no stopping the Cretins from hopping. The Ramones, Cretin Hop. Originally from Cleveland and Youngstown, Ohio, the Dead Boys played their first gig at CBGB's in New York in 1976. Their violent theatrics helped to develop a rapid following for them. Their first album was released on Sire Records in the fall of 1977. Critics have called them hilarious, disgusting, brilliant, and profane.
Well, me and Cheetah, the guitarist, were in bands for about 5 years together, and then we met Jimmy and the rest of them, and about a year and a half ago we just got together, came to New York, and got a recording contract.
Well, let me see. Well, we were together for a long time. Me and Johnny were together in a band, and then we met up with Stevie and Jimmy in a fight.
We were playing a gig, and while we were on stage, Steve and Jimmy were trying to move in on our chicks. So we got, that sort of pissed off. We didn't fight, real bad, but after we got, we found out they played in the band and all that, So we went back, put that band together, and then we broke up because we couldn't get any gigs. And then Stevie came to New York, and he called us. He said, meet us at the airport, So we did. And that's what happened. We practiced for a week, came to New York.
Hilly Crystal is the founder and owner of CBGB's. He is also the Dead Boys' manager.
I think violence is part of youth. And I think when I was young, I was a little more violent than I am now. I'm only violent now if I have to be. And I think it represents different violences within everybody when they're young. I think that's part of the movement. I don't like the violence, but you have to bear with it if you feel there are any redeeming qualities. And I think there are in the music and part of the violence.
Well, I think human beings have been acting like animals for as long as we've had recorded history. And the difference between punk rock and every other human being who's act like an animal is that the punk rockers want to explore it, and they do not deny the fact that they are animals. They go out there and they have fun doing it, whereas someone like, say, Henry Kissinger would insist that he's civilized, and then and end up running the Vietnam War.
It's like the younger kids today have nothing to look to. All they have to look to is like Kiss or something like that. What we're doing is we're starting like I don't know if you want to, starting to rebel or whatever, but we want the younger kids to have something to grab onto. And like, I think what we're doing is like something they can relate to, something their parents won't like. And exactly, that's exactly what they're looking for, something their parents would hate.
Cleveland,
in the late 50s or the early 60s, there was a thing called a twist. And I managed a rock and roll band at that time. And my mother and all of my mother's friends hated rock and roll. Hated it. Rock and roll was the worst. Rock and roll would lead to juvenile delinquency, venereal disease, drug addiction, broken marriages, and the end of the family institution as we've known and loved it in America. So then the twist happens, right? And people in limousines are going to a place in New York called the Peppermint Lounge. And I had a band that was playing in the Peppermint Lounge at that time with Joey D and the Starlighters, who were the headline. And so all of a sudden, the same people who hated rock and roll loved the twist. They all ran to the fancy department stores and bought their twist dresses and spent a lot of money to go to twist nightclubs. Never once understanding, agreeing that rock and roll and the twist is exactly the same thing, except it's rock and roll. Call the twist. I think punk rock is rock and roll.
In September of 1977, manager Peter Leeds raised over $500,000 in cash to buy Blondie's recording rights. Within 60 days thereafter, the rights were picked up by Chrysalis Records, and the band began a worldwide tour.
Yeah, I knew Blondie was a star, and I knew in order for them to reach the heights that were possible, you need the full and total cooperation of the record company. And that means really understanding what it takes to build an act to the level that I think Blondie will attain, having the same confidence in the act that I had, putting their money where their mouth was.
The deal paid off fast, as the group was rewarded with sellout crowds in almost every major city played.
You know, you talk about sex and violence in their lyrics. I mean, sex and violence is a way of life in America and the world today. And the lyrics of Blondie's songs, which are all self-created, are reflecting that which is around them and that which they're around. And so, yeah, I suppose that's true. And the rock and roll that for so many years was boring, talking about whatever it was they were talking about, not being reflective of the world as it is a thing of the past.
In Australia, coupled with a record company-supported tour by manager Peter Leeds and lead singer Debbie Harry, Chrysalis re-released the Blondie single In the Flesh. The song climbed to #2 nationally. Australia is one of the world's biggest record-buying markets.
Their record going to #2 in Australia very fast. Their album was a huge success in both Australia and Japan. That must reflect that there's wide appeal to Blondie. It's not a limited audience, it's wide.
Recorded live at CBGB's in New York City, here is Blondie's hit single, In the Flesh.
Without you in the flesh. We're walking on down the lower east side. Met you with a girlfriend. You were so divine. She said, hands off, this one's sweetie. This boy is mine. I'm the deaf, dumb, and blind. Darling, 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 now you're out of town. Those girls that you run with, they bring my head down. Ooh, darling, darling, watch out if I see you. 'Cause if you say hello, it'll mean you wanna see me in the flesh. Oh, that's all in the flesh. 'Cause I'm high in the flesh.
In the United States, the Ramones were historically the first punk group to crack the charts. Their single, Sheena is a Punk Rocker, became a top 100 hit and helped to break the barrier of resistance that had kept punk music off American radio stations. It is because of its power and simplicity that Ramones music has often been compared to both minimalist sculpture and monolithic architecture.
There is a need for raw, powerful, sexy, violent music, you know? Real rock and roll, like it was, you know, when with Elvis Presley, with the Stones, you know, when they first came out, it was excitement. And that's what we're trying to bring back, the raw power of music, of rock and roll.
If their music has its roots in the basic power of early rock, its speed, strength, and directness is totally original. No one Ramones claims credit for the material, which they say they produced together.
Well, somebody will come up with a lyric, somebody will come up with some chords, and we'll keep the good stuff and throw the bad stuff out. It's a good team, you know, because this way we all come up with some really good songs.
Their next single, Rockaway Beach, which was released in the winter of 1977, hit the top 100s within weeks after it came out. The subject is violence, with songs like Chainsaw, Beat on the Brat, teenage lobotomy connotations of fascist warfare like Blitzkrieg Bop, just a small part of the violence-oriented imagery that permeates the punk movement.
It all has to do with what you regard as the value of irrational energies.
Here's the way to phrase the question. Do you feel the byproducts and the antics, or whatever else you want to call them, of the punk movement, of the New Wave movement, is that productive? Is that really...
Productive? What does that mean?
It is very dangerous. It could lead to fascism. All of that is really true. No, you laugh. All of that is really true. Yes, there is an extraordinarily dangerous energy that these people are trying to unleash. How much of it there is in this country remains to be seen. But my own analysis of the way economics and politics work is that damn right it's productive, because I think that our economic system is completely rotten. And so I'm willing to take the chance.
Like the music's violent, but it's like it gets all the aggression out of the kids. And like after they see a show of ours, they're ready to collapse.
No, what we're doing ain't really destructive. To where they think that we're trying to, get them to kill themselves and all that, and it's not what it's all about. We're out to have fun.
And the Ramones are not advocating beating on themselves or anybody else.
We're not telling anyone to sniff glue or hit people over the head with bats.
And the Dead Boys are not particularly nice to their groupies. I don't think there's anything I can really say about it. Can't go into too much detail about that on TV.
Maybe these kids are essentially upwardly mobile, aspiring. Their mothers wanted them to be doctors, but they decided they could make more money quicker being rock stars. But if they fall into this world in which they are aping violence all the time, one of these days it's going to get violent, just by definition.
What we're doing on stage is just releasing a lot of energy, frustration, and, where is it best to do it, here or out in the streets, So that's how most of the kids get it out, They watch TV, and they see the violence there, and they get it out of them that way. But it's not full like you can here. Here you can break a bottle or jump around or something like that, or just watch us get it out for you. So really, what we're doing is really healthy.
Some kind of release. Not just teenagers, any human being needs some kind of cathartic release that way, needs some kind of self-transcendence once a week, whether he's going to a football game and screaming for the Dallas Cowboys, or whether he goes to a punk rock concert.
Beatles, when they started off, were nothing more than 1, 2, 3, 4, doing the oldies, doing Chuck Berry, doing Little Richard. And that's the Ramones especially are the primary movers of basic, hard, legitimate rock and roll, which is often raw.
The reference to the Beatles and their simple beginnings raises the question of exactly how big these groups you are looking at will become. Their success to this point has been rapid, and there are many groups waiting in the wings.
But right now in New York, there are 50 or 60 great young rock and roll bands.
They are hoping to fill a void that exists in the rock and roll industry today and satisfy a rapidly growing audience that groups like the Ramones, Blondie, and the Dead Boys have helped to launch.
The first time I saw the Ramones perform was in the spring of 1975 at CBGB's. It was a weekday night. I had gone because, well, they had asked me to come down. I was writing a column that they asked me to come down and see them. I'd sort of put it off because I had no idea what they were. A friend of mine, Lisa Robinson, went to see them. She called me the next morning. She was very excited. She said, "You'll love this band." So it was, you know, I know she knows what I like. So I went down the next night that they were playing, and I just flipped me out in 5 seconds. I mean, 5 seconds into the first song they played, I just went, you know, said what I've been waiting to hear. And it's true, I've been waiting to hear it for, you know, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, something that powerful and strong and right on, you know. Real rock and roll. No blues, no jazz. Just rock and roll. Real solid. I was knocked out. I was, you know, there must have been 7 people in the audience. You know.
There wasn't very many people in the audience at all. And after we were through, someone came over to us and said, "Are you guys a joke? Are you a parody of a rock group or something like that?" And we said, "No." We said, "You know, we're dead serious." And then our audiences just slowly started growing, and, you know, and they started getting us off more, and we were getting them off more, and it just developed that way.
Today, with the impact they've already made on the rock and roll industry and the thousands of people who come to see them play live, it's hard to take the Ramones any other way than seriously.
Gabba gabba we accept you one of us. Gabba gabba we accept you one of us.
Of success, the Blondie story, which is really just begun, is also one of an extraordinary appeal which cannot be ignored.
The Blondies, for the most part, live in New York. Well, when you don't have any money and you live in New York, you don't go to Los Angeles to play music. You play music where you live. And they put a band together. They had a loft that they lived in that they used for rehearsal. Put a band together, and they got Hilly Crystal, who owned CBGB's, to let them play there. And they played there, I think, for 3 months, better than 3 months, every week. And Debbie told them that there were times when they'd walk out of there and their split would be $5 apiece. In September, we played there September 9th, 10th, and 11th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. As a matter of fact, the time that you did the Blondie tape for this show, and Blondie was the headliner. We used a bunch of local opening acts, and Blondie's share of those 4 nights was over $8,000. And it is kind of nice. It's sort of Horatio Alger or Damon Runyon or one of those kind of things to have, you know, rags to riches, $5 to $8,000.
Though I wanted to hear the voice of a maiden who would play it down there at the rifle range, at the rifle range, at the rifle range, at the rifle range. Like a victim of truth, I was strung on a news, cracking at the news of a I turned around to stare at the face she would wear, and I ran through the gallows, the harbors down there. Yeah. The rifle range, at the rifle range, like a buffalo, loves my heart at the rifle range.
Strong statements are one of the things that the attitude called punk is all about. The Dead Boys are simply not a laid-back rock and roll group.
All your life you're brought up not to really say what you feel because it's not nice or it's not good. These guys respect their parents, and, you know, if that makes anybody feel better. You know, they're worried about our country and everything else. They're worried. That's why they're doing it.
You know why we're here? Because there ain't nothing to do.
the small cities are picking up on this. I think the real value of this new wave, whatever it may be, is that it encourages new bands to do their own thing.
When one is talking about the punk movement, one is talking about a lot of different kinds of music.
Obviously, if you compare the music of Blondie, the Dead Boys, and the Ramones, they're very different, you know. And I guess that's one of the things that's really great about it, because there's all that variety.
Sheena is a punk rocker. With his keys are all hopped up and ready to go. They're ready to go now. Not so simple, then they're going to the disco.